Oh, hello. My name's Eric Metaxas. Many of you who listen to this program or know me, you've read my books, you might not know that I have written over 30 children's books over the years, starting in, I think it was 1989. And I am a particular devotee of the art of writing for children. And what I've noticed is that a lot of people think writing for children is easy, like, oh, I could write a children's book. Exactly the opposite. It's harder because you have to kind of strike a perfect tone and a balance that a lot of people don't, and they write children's books anyway. And so if I ever find a children's book that is particularly well done, I'm a little bit astonished because it's so rare. So let me just say, I am thrilled to be sitting here with the authors of one of those children's books, Bethany and Ryan Bomberger, whom I know. Welcome to the program.
Hey,
it's great to be here.
So glad
Yeah,
to be with you
well,
today.
it makes me happy to be happy about something. You guys have done something. Now, look, what you have done here is also brave and beautiful. So the title of the book is She is She. What? That's like scandalous.
Crazy.
A book about your identity by Bethany and Ryan Bomberger. Ryan, you've been on the program before. Tell my audience the short version of what this is, and then we'll get into it.
The short version is we live in a culture that wants to pretend that we don't know what is, that we don't know what a woman is, we don't know what a girl is.
Right.
And so as parents of 4 children, 2 girls, 2 boys, we want to be able to counter all this gender spectrum, propaganda. So we wrote She is She to celebrate what it means to be a girl, celebrate motherhood, and to celebrate undeniable, biological, beautiful her. In a nutshell, that's what
Because
it's all
women
about.
are under attack. I never thought I'd find myself saying that in this insane world in which we live. Now, Bethany, you identify as a woman.
I do.
You're
for
open
good-
about this.
Good reasons.
You're not ashamed to
no,
say
my
that
whole
I'm
life I felt like a woman.
Right?
And I'm just feel like I'm in the right skin.
Incredible. Well, whether you feel like a woman or don't, you are a woman,
100%.
right?
100%.
And that's the kind of the key here, and that's what's so controversial and so crazy. But I'm all about culture. I talk about politics, talk about faith, but at the end of the day, it's about culture. And so, creating a wonderful children's book like you've done here, as I said earlier, it makes me particularly happy. Not just because how difficult that is and how rare that is to do, but because you're putting something into the culture that everyone can enjoy, not just learn from, but enjoy. When did you get the idea? Because, Ryan, explain to me, first of all, what it is that you normally do. You don't
Right.
normally write children's books with Bethany. What do you normally do?
Well, we normally do a lot of different things. Through our organization, the Radiance Foundation, we try
The
to...
Radiance Foundation.
Yes.
Yes.
Write that down.
Right.
The Radiance Foundation. Bomberger. Go ahead.
And the easiest way to get there is radiance.life. But we create content that's fearless, factual, and freeing in order to illuminate that every human life has God-given purpose. So whether you're planned, unplanned, able, or disabled. And part of that is, these speaking engagements that we do. Part of it is the factivism, our form of journalism, our compassionate community outreaches, and the other part are books. And increasingly, we have a passion for writing not just books for children, but for books for the public to be able to illuminate the truth that every human life is purpose. And so this is one of those endeavors. There are a lot of things that we do. She's a teacher by profession.
Right. I am a teacher by profession. And, we live in a time in history when especially the Christians fear speaking out and fear speaking just simple truths.
Right.
And so
And
we
it's
want...
not just Christians, Bethany.
Right.
It's like
I
anybody
know.
who's sane,
Right.
who
And
sees
logical.
the lunacy, and they think, I've been told I should keep my mouth shut.
Right.
Can I speak up? Can I say that that's insane?
Right.
So, yeah, you're right.
And I think that what we want to do is we want to take away the fear that comes with not being able to speak into these issues and replace it with the confidence that comes when you have the tools to articulate actually a biblical worldview, a reasoned worldview. And so, especially like he said, as a teacher for years, literature.
A teacher for years.
For years, I taught in private Christian school. I taught in public suburban. And then for years in the inner city in Philadelphia, I taught middle school. And so...
Holy cow.
Yeah.
Which was easier than homeschooling.
That's like the Gulag Archipelago. Are you kidding me?
Yes.
Middle school, public middle school?
In
And you're still alive?
Kensington, Philadelphia.
You made it.
Yep.
Yes,
No,
I
that's
did.
so beautiful that you look, it's obvious that you guys are dedicated to all this stuff that you're talking about. You're not just talking, you're living it out. So, but I mentioned I've written all these children's books, and I became really a student of the art of children's picture books in the sense that they are, it's easy to fake it, but to actually create something that it's like a poem or a painting or a sculpture. It has to have the right balance somehow and the right, and that's, you can't fake that, right?
No.
That's hard to pull off. So you guys have pulled it off in the book.
Awesome.
The book is titled She is She. By the way, I just can't believe you'd say something so mean. You're mean people. She is She. But the illustrations are also wonderful.
Yeah.
Who did these illustrations?
That's our friend, Ed Kaler, who's
amazing. Oh my
Amazing.
gosh.
And like you said, literature can be a very powerful tool when executed properly. And so we're passionate about having powerful tools and not wasting anybody's time.
Yeah.
And who knew that it was going to be powerful to say she is she. She's not he, she's not we, she is she.
Well, I want to read a little bit of this just to give people a flavor of what I'm raving about, right? It says, she is she. So it's a picture of a beautiful girl holding what looks like a puppy. But this is where it really gets scandalous on page 2. She is she. She is not he. What? Can you say that? She is not he. She is not we. I mean, it's the reason this is hilarious and beautiful is like the idea that this is slightly scandalous to say she is not he, she is not we, she is she. I mean, can you imagine? Imagine 100 years ago somebody reading this, they'd say, I don't understand this.
Why are you writing
What
this?
is, what is this?
This is nonsense.
And then it says, she's a mother, she's a daughter, she's a sister, not a brother. She's a granny, she's an auntie, she's a bestie, not a grampy. They're laughing at their own book. See, it's so good.
We've not had it read to us.
It's so
by
good.
Eric Metaxas before, so
Executing
It says,
perfectly.
she is she naturally. What? You can't say that. Aretha Franklin was just banned from the internet. She is she naturally. So, you're making a point that has become radical. And again, let's just review. That's insane. Right. But the fact that you say this, rhyme is beautiful when it works. Again, everybody thinks, I can rhyme. No. I'm speaking as somebody who knows good rhyme from not great rhyme. The fact that this flows this way, she is she naturally, beautifully. She is she. She's a doctor, an employer. She's a justice-seeking lawyer. She's a leader. She's a speaker. She's a favorite grade school teacher. When she is free to be who God meant her to be. This is beautiful. I want to say it again and again and again. Congratulations. This is just, it makes me so happy that you pulled it off with élan, which is a French word we're appropriating it for the English language, E-L-A-N. Honestly, when did you get the idea? I just have to ask you both, because I know, you're both bright people and you believe these things, but when did you get the concept, we want to try to put this into a children's book?
Well, I think we're realizing that there is a targeted agenda on our children. And that if we're not intentional about creating resources that begin speaking into these issues from a very young age, we are going to find that these lies are just going to continually be perpetuated, and we're going to be still having discussions about what it means to be male and female when kids are older. And so like I said, I was a teacher, so I spent a lot of time writing rhymes for my kids and writing books that my children end up being the ones reading and seeing. And we just thought it would be really funny to get all this discussion about pronouns. Well, let me give you clarity about the pronouns. And so that's really how it started, sitting around the table going, babe, what if we just wrote a book that just used pronouns, and then it moved into what this is here. And, following sheisshe.com, has a lot more resources.
Wait,
and even
there's a sheisshe.com?
Yes.
On the internet?
Scandal.
It is.
The controversy
We can
doesn't
spell
end.
she, S-H-E, I-S, that's the verb, and then the final word she, S-H-E. Can you say that?
Yeah.
Sheishe.com. Okay,
Yes.
so there's a website.
Yeah. There is a website because we want this to be a jump off for folks. We want to be able to take the discussion deeper if age appropriate, or, it's the adult that's typically reading to the kids or buying for the kids. We want them to be equipped.
Right.
And so there are a lot of resources. Even at the end of the book, the last few pages talk about what does the Bible say? What does science say? Because we can't just have a feeling that this gender radicalism isn't right. We have to understand what is going on and how to combat it.
Look, I sucked up the whole opening segment by reading the whole book on the air. I apologize. When we come back, I'm going to let the authors speak. Thank you. Oh, hello. I am talking to the author and authoress, I just want to say that to be provocative, of a new book for children and adults and everybody in between. It's called She is She. I read the whole book out loud just a moment ago on this program, folks, every word on this program. And I'm sitting with Bethany and Ryan Bomberger. Now, I foresee this book, if people are brave, they will go to their local libraries and say, I want to do a public reading of this book, and you guys need to do this too, and see if you get pushback. Yeah. Mm-hmm. You say, I'm going to come dressed as a man, I'm going to come dressed as a woman. Would that be okay? But I hope that happens with this book, because it's such a beautiful, wonderful book, and so many people would get excited about this. Have you thought about that?
Absolutely.
Oh, yeah.
And it's very easy. If you live in your town, you can donate any books you want to your public library. So we really encourage folks to get out there and take this message. Just donate the book, even if you don't feel bold enough to do a reading, which you should. And if you don't, maybe find somebody in your friend group that's willing to do it, because that's what we need to be doing. And if anybody gives you pushback, let us know.
They typically do.
Yeah, they typically do. And I foresee, this is She is She, he is coming out next spring. But
wow.
Yeah, just to plug that for a second.
Equality, it's important.
Yeah, but you're right. It is up to us to go to our libraries and to hand them this book and say, we want this on the shelf. We want this book.
Okay, what you're saying, Bethany, people who listen to this program know this is where I'm coming from. Ladies and gentlemen, you have a job to do. People say, what can I do? Yeah. What can I do? What can I do? Here's what you can do. Like, first of all, A, do something. B, if you don't have any ideas on what to do, buy a copy of this book, donate it to your public library. Here's another idea. Buy another copy of the book, donate it to the public library. So they'll have two books. Mm-hmm. This is like basic activism. Right. Now, we call it activism. It's not activism. It's called being a citizen. Mm-hmm. It's called being a part of your culture. If you don't do stuff like that, you're guilty for everything that's happening, for the loonies who are pushing and donating their like pro-lunacy books to public libraries and stuff. So you've given us a tool on what we can do. The title is She is She, a book about your identity. Even that rhymes. It also rhymes with Bethany. No, it's just so wonderful. So what else do you have in here? Because I read the text of the book, beautiful illustrations, but at the end of it, you have...
Right, yeah.
There's two sections where we
more
talk about...
information.
Right. What does science say? What does the Bible say? And it's important. We live in Loudoun County, by the way, and our public schools are going through, they have these policies like Policy 8040, which basically tell teachers and the administration to hide from the parents any discussions or any journey that they lead a child into the gender confusion. And it's devastating. We have so many parents coming to us, and that's why we want to put these tools. It's not just what the Bible says that we have a biblical worldview, but it's what does science say that reinforces the biblical worldview. And so parents can feel confident, as you mentioned earlier, to be equipped to go into these school board meetings. I've been to several of them. The local news and the national news calls them, the meetings that erupt in chaos because we didn't clap instead of doing jazz hands. But it's so clear. It's so insane. The people who are fighting for parental rights are the ones who have the facts and have science on their side. And unfortunately, all the LGBT activists that want to undermine parental rights have nothing but these, nothing but the propaganda. So this is part of the way that we can actually equip these parents going in there to understand what they can say to counter all the gender spectrum, LGBT radicalism.
Yeah.
And it's frightening when we understand what's going on medically and what's being given and offered to our children at younger and younger ages. And they're saying, we're going to pause puberty. You can't pause. You can't take these puberty blockers and come back from this stuff. We've been watching different videos. We were watching Vanderbilt University had done this massive study, and somebody had taped somebody had taped them discussing, Vanderbilt Hospital, why we should move forward with these gender surgeries and talking about the financial benefit and how much finances they're going to acquire from pushing this. We have to understand there are so many levels of issue here, and we're going into places we're never going to be able to come back from. And there's such beauty in understanding what it means to be male and female. And I won't stand for the erasure of women nor of men. And I think that that is really what we're seeing happening. And as a Christian, we understand that this is the attack on the identity of Christ.
I mean, that's what's so fascinating to me, because when we talk about, is it Bible-based? The real question is it reality-based and truth-based?
Yes.
Because when it's Bible-based, it's reality-based.
Right.
And truth-based. So it's not like, well, we have this parochial religious view, that's our view. No, we have a view based on reality and truth. It's not just what the Bible says. The Bible happens to agree with reality because it's written by the God who created reality, ex nihilo. And we have to stand up, because we're at a point in culture now where if you do not stand up, and I always say specifically to people who dare to claim to be a Christian, if you claim to be a Christian, God is calling you to stand up and to speak up and to do things like buy copies of this book, bring it to your library, donate it to schools, whatever. You need to do that kind of stuff. And you've given us just a beautiful tool. When we come back, I want to go into what the Bible says and what science says, which is at the end of the book, and it talks about you guys. The website is sheisshe.com, sheisshe.com, and we're going to be right back. The book is titled She is She, a book about your identity. Welcome back. I'm talking to the authors of a brand new, delightful children's book. It's called She is She, a book about your identity. I want to say again how well done it is, because a lot of times people can, create, whether it's a film starring Kevin Sorbo, or I'm teasing, or any of my friends. You can see something, you go, I agree with it, but I didn't think it was like artistically excellent, or maybe they could have improved this or improved that or whatever. So you have two things: do you agree with the message, but then how is it executed? Right. You guys have executed this so beautifully that I think it will succeed fantastically in reaching people. And I think there are a lot of people, we mentioned it earlier, there are a lot of people, the reason I encourage Christians to be more vocal about what they believe is that there are plenty of people who don't identify as Christians who are confused by the craziness. And they're saying, what is happening? Are you serious? Like, can men become women, women become men? That doesn't make any sense to me, but I don't know. As Christians, we're obliged to say, we know. Here's what the Bible says. Here's what science says. Don't be intimidated. You happen to be on the right side of truth. And you guys, at the end of this book, She is She, you say what the Bible says, and then you say what science says. Because guess what? There is zero daylight between science-based reality and what the Bible says. And I find this funny that we have to say this, right? But we're not talking about, here's what our weird religion says, and you have to respect our weird views. If you think they're weird, that's on you. The views are consonant with what we call reality and science, and you actually say that in here. So talk about what the Bible says, first of all.
Well, in Genesis 1:27, it talks about how God made us male and female, which is interesting because that's before family was created. He created male and female to enable there to be family, the strength of every society of our civilization. And so we can know this with certainty that he created us with intention, male and female, and yet you have so many people who want to create that into an insane spectrum. So someone like a Bruce Jenner can all of a sudden become a female. But what's bizarre to me as someone who's mixed, both white and black, is that the same people, the same progressives, rejected Rachel Dolezal claiming to be a black American, African American. Well, why not? Because if it's simply just self-identity and that makes reality, then why can't a Rachel Dolezal be black?
Right, and because you are black and white, as you just put it, you're in the middle of this, and you can talk about this with authority and not as the scribes like Rachel Dolezal. And the thing is that everything is so crazy that we're finally being forced to talk about, wait a minute, why do we say this and this and this? So there's a moment here, again, for average Americans who maybe they don't go to a church or they don't know what the Bible says. They're struggling, and they're saying, where do I look for rock solid truth? Because they know something's wrong. They just don't know where to look. So you guys have given them a tool. You quote from the Bible. There are so many things that you have 5 biblical quotes. In other words, if there's a Christian out there saying, well, I don't want to be political, well, you got a problem, because the Bible tells you what God says. And so if you say that, people are going to say, you're being political, you're being controversial. Right. Then you say about what science says. What do you say that science says on the issue of male and female?
Well, we know scientifically that there are thousands of biological differences, thousands of them. It's not just because the outer shell is slightly different. Internally, I mean, from the moment of fertilization, our DNA determines whether we are boys or girls, which we state in there. It's not the moment of birth. They keep talking about gender assigned at birth. They do that because they want to deny basic medical science. We know that it's determined at the point of fertilization, and that's important because throughout our entire being, God created us either male or female. And it doesn't matter, what your feelings are. And we tell this to children. It doesn't matter if you feel a certain way, because children, we have 4 kids. They are misled emotionally all the time. We're always having to rein them in. No, you don't need that. No, that probably won't be good for you. That's why they need parents. And they need people who understand just basic objective truth to realign them on a path that's going to actually be healthy and constructive for them.
And when we understand what science is saying, and we understand these, thousands of differences, we can celebrate the differences. We can say, look, women can do things that men can't do. They can carry children, they can nurture children, they can feed children. Men have a different role. And you know what? We don't have to step on men. We don't have to be them. It's a beautiful, wonderful, powerful thing to understand that there's space for both of us. And for me, that's the more empowering perspective.
And it needs to be said, you touched on it, Ryan, that we keep pretending that there's a conversation to be had. Let me just shut it down right now. You can do a blood test on anybody at any time, and their blood will tell you male or female. Case closed, simple, not confusing, not is there facial hair? Are there blood test, DNA, how many chromosomes, Y, X? It is biologically determined, and there are people that are at war with reality. They say, I don't care. I feel I'm trapped. And I think, look, a woman can take drugs and grow a beard and have a child, and she says, I'm a man having... No, you're a woman with a beard who had a child. Right. Because only women can have kids. And this confusion is destructive, and I want to be clear about that. It's destructive. So if you don't speak clarity and order into this chaos and confusion, you're a part of it. And so I want to say it again. You guys have created a beautiful tool, She is She. You can go to sheisshe.com. But it's a beautiful tool for people to read to. First of all, you can read it to your kids at home, right, and you can indoctrinate them with the truth, because the truth is beautiful.
Yeah,
it really is. But I'm so glad that you have decided again to do this. That you've done it so well. There's no way to put into words. When I bring decades of experience with art and children's books to describe what it is that makes this such a winner. It's not just that it's true. It's not just that I agree with what you say, but you've done it so beautifully. It's just so well done. So the book is She is She, a book about your identity by Bethany and Ryan Bomberger. sheisshe.com. is the website. And when we come back, we've got another segment with Bethany and Ryan. But in the meantime, you can check out sheisshe.com. Check it out. Welcome back. I'm talking to Bethany and Ryan Bomberger. That's Bomberger, the authors of a glorious children's book titled She Is She. You can go to sheisshe.com. Let's talk about compassion, right? Because if somebody honestly believes they are trapped in the wrong body or something like that, you don't want to say to them, you're a loathsome, messed up creature. You realize they're going through something very difficult. So how do we deal with people who are earnestly convinced that they're in the wrong body? What do we say to these people?
I think that's so valid, because we like to say this at Radiance Foundation: we can love every human being, but not every human doing. We can look at behaviors separate from persons. What's a little bit frightening right now is that we're seeing that therapists and pastors are really scared to talk about what it means, or looking at gender confusion and really speaking into the confusion part of it. And so I think that those that are most wanting to be compassionate are really stuck in an interesting place, because the world is saying you can't be compassionate without being affirming. And we know what the Bible says, that truth does not delight in evil, but rejoices in the truth. And that love doesn't delight in evil, rather, but rejoices in the truth. And when we truly love somebody, we can't embrace the lie. We have to love them enough to be able to speak truth. And we are watching as that's becoming harder and harder for
so if I
folks
say,
to do.
I know I am the 16th President of the United States, Abraham Lincoln, and I demand that you acknowledge me as such, you would not be loving by saying, nice to meet you, Mr. President.
Right. No.
But that's what's happening right now. So someone can, for instance, go into Planned Parenthood, a child, a minor, and be given these dangerous carcinogenic puberty blockers simply because they have self-diagnosed. When can you go to a doctor's office and say, by the way, I think I have a form of skin cancer and I need to be treated for that right now?
Yeah,
that doesn't work.
Face.
But only when it comes to gender dysphoria. So compassion is saying, look, there is confusion. There is a mind-body disconnect. And why don't we connect the mind with what the body actually is? Instead, it's the other way around, and constantly connecting it with these unstable emotions. So compassion is saying, hey, there are some people who are genuinely confused. Then there are the situations where there's a social contagion, which is obvious, which is why we've seen this massive increase, particularly among girls who are now identifying as transgender. But compassion says, wait a minute, let's stop this. Gender affirming care should actually be affirming that there are two genders. That's what gender affirming should actually mean.
Right.
We're affirming that you are beautifully and biologically a boy, and you are beautifully and biologically a girl. That these are things that we can uphold and affirm. And when there is a disconnect in the mind and in that heart emotionally, we have to say, let's take the time to unravel some of that and help set that person free from that confusion.
Well, I'm just so happy that you've written this book, and I'm happy that you're doing what you do at the Radiance Foundation, because people need guidance on this. It's, I think most people know what is right and true, but to live it out, to act on it, that takes courage. But courage is not extra credit. Courage is basic Christian faith. If you claim to be a Christian, God demands that you live out what you claim to believe. Otherwise, he knows you don't really believe it. Right. And so I think that, again, you've created an opportunity for people, not just to buy the book for themselves, but to give this or multiple copies to the library, and then to say, I would like to do a reading of this book in the library. Ladies and gentlemen, everyone in America knows that they're men and women. You've got to stop pretending like, well, we don't know anymore. Yes, we know. We know, just as we know that the Nazis were wrong when they declared the Jews are inferior. We know. Just because everybody's afraid to talk about it doesn't change reality. So I want to thank you, Bethany and Ryan Bomberger, for the book and for all that you do. Again, the website is sheisshe.com. Wonderful. And the book is She Is She. And we're just delighted. God bless you.
Thank you so much.